Tick-tock, time to rock. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to everyone who's watching from all over the world. What is this? We got Rick Newton here, raining on everyone's parade, saying Wes Huff won't be joining probably. They are just going over his videos. Yes, hence me saying, literally in the description box, let's go through some of Wes Huff's videos about the Quran and the Bible. If you're ever confused, if anyone's ever confused about what we're doing during the show, I suggest checking the description box because I say what the show's about. Hey, P, you heard of this Wes Huff guy? Why are you muted?
Oh, sorry.
It's supposed to be professionals. You're embarrassing us.
Did you say Wes Buff? I have heard of Wes Buff.
Yeah, I clicked on one of his videos from a couple years ago, and he's like, "Hi, my name's Wesley." And I'm like, "Oh, smart changing that to Wes." I don't know how things are in Canada. Let's suppose you show up to prison, and you say, "Hey, my name's Wes." They'd be like, "Oh, okay." If you show up and you're like, "Hey, my name's Wesley," you're gonna have a rough couple years, man. You're gonna have a rough couple years.
Hello, Wesley here.
You know what you should? You should walk up in there. Sorry, guys, got a little bit of a cold. You should roll up in there and be like, West Side. Hey, that could be the name for his apologetics ministry, West Side Apologetics, but W-E-S, not the T. And you could still do the West Side Apologetics.
You see?
Wouldn't that be dope? Dope.
That would be amazing.
That would be dope.
Like the best idea ever.
Hey, you know...
Yes. What do you know?
Rick Newton says, D. Wood, I was responding to someone else in the comment. Yeah, I wasn't seriously annoyed at all. And so that advice was for everyone who's watching who is confused. It happens every time. I'll say because normally we just go through video clips and stuff like that. But it's like, if I say we're gonna be talking about Candace Owens, blah, 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 there will be people, wait, Candace Owens is joining them.
Why is Candace Owens joining them? I can't believe this.
And so Wes, I've already said before, I'm not going to bother Wes. I'm sure he's getting bombarded right now, and he is still working on his doctorate. And so he doesn't need a whole lot of distractions. And I'm totally fine. If people have posted their stuff over the years, quite happy to go through their videos and discuss them and expose them and humiliate them.
That's what they do.
And we've got this Wes guy, and everyone we watched part of his debate with Billy Carson. Seemed all nice, and then I saw him actually suggesting that there are Muslim arguments that aren't 100% valid. And now I know he's mean and Islamophobic, and so we're gonna have to expose him in here.
That's pretty based. Being Islamophobic is the best thing you can do in your life.
Mm-hmm, that is. What impact do you think Wes will have on Rogan? I do not know. Joe, to his credit, listens. He seems to have changed his tone over the years towards religious matters. He's more interested in listening and so on. To his credit, he did ask a Christian apologist to come on there after a debate. That's all cool. So, I don't know. We'll have to see. God bless. Thank you for exposing the cult of Muhammad worship. No, we're here to expose Wes Huff for being mean and Islamophobic and saying that there are issues with the Quran. I started talking to Muslims for real, and they told me that eating 7 ajwa dates really does make you immune to poison. What world did I just step in?
There was a video, I think, where where was it? You probably know about that, where somebody challenged somebody to drink poison and do one of those things that Muhammad said would be a cure to all diseases or to poison. What was that? I feel like I have such a memory in mind of somebody challenging Muslims to do that.
Well, Ahmed Deedat used to challenge Christians and stuff to do that. Yeah, guys, if you're going to do that, start with a pretty low-grade poison. Don't instantly go for something that's going to kill you.
Powerful.
Oh, that was that one. Wes Huff said he practices swologetics. That's pretty funny because he's getting swole. Thank you, Miss Wood and Mrs. Apostate, for sharing your hubby's time with us over these past 2 weeks. With so many epic live streams, Valentine's Day is soon. Sharing us. Like they have any say in anything we do. I think Joe's team is just gaining traction for the Joe Rogan Experience Wes Huff podcast. I think it'll do well. You get a lot of additional viewers. Also off topic, but could you quickly point me to sources to help my friend who is Gnostic, belief in hidden knowledge, demiurge, etc.?
That's funny. Just earlier today, I was wondering if there are any prominent Gnostic organizations around today, and I actually started looking into some organizations that are alive today, and that follow kind of neo-Gnosticism, kind of new establishments based on old beliefs. That's a funny thing.
Yeah, I've never. I mean, Gnosticism is one of those issues where you can run into it if you're studying Christian history, and you run into it in the realm of philosophy and so on. But never met someone who takes it seriously enough for me to focus on actually learning how to respond to it. But there are people who do. So yeah, look those up. What are you grinning at? It's something stupid, isn't it?
It's always Black Angel and her comments.
Uh-oh.
Just nothing.
Wes isn't phobic. If anything, look at how he's built.
You see?
See that? My videos are hidden and not showing up on recommended like they used to. Could it be the Yehudim? For real though, how do I fix that? I don't know. Let me check later. Let me check out. Remind me to check out your channel and see if anything looks weird. But we have been, which is why I didn't turn on the slow mode, because there have been technical issues with YouTube lately. So I am deeply troubled at how those two ChatGPT could carry a conversation about the Quran. Is this the end of human creativity? Will AI create all art? I am interested in that stuff as well. And here we have from Issa. Hey, Issa, happy Sunday, bros. Really enjoyed our live together. Yes, it was.
It is. AI will be taking over creativity, and that is good. It's good because humans are kind of lame, and AI can probably do things better in the long term.
Can do things way better. Hey, speaking of people's videos, we're going to start off AP with possibly the best reaction video to the Wes Huff, Billy Carson debate, where two of Billy's biggest fans were eager to see him prove that we all just come from aliens. But then they started watching it, and we're going to see the reaction. So this is from the Christian Gadfly channel. Everyone, link is in the description box. It's going to be pretty based. Here we go. So this is their reaction.
Hey, very briefly,
What?
Speaking of Gnostics, do you know that there was this old sect that were a Gnostic Christian sect very early on. They practiced self-castration, and allegedly they also would do things like catching people and castrating them.
That's messed up. Yeah, you had lots of Gnostics who believe that matter is evil. So that's taking it a bit far there.
It's kind of fun though,
because you had other groups who were like, "Oh, matter's evil, therefore it really doesn't matter what we do. So we can just do any perverted thing that pops into our heads."
Yeah.
All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Christian Gadfly. I think he's a lawyer. Is that correct? One of these guys is a lawyer. Keep that in mind as they're reacting to things.
The Bible is a lie. We all just come from aliens. Jesus is an alien. We all just come from aliens. You ready to see?
So that was cool. Wait, I didn't want anyone to miss the sign here. It says, so this is November 8th, 2024, 5 minutes before the Huff Carson debate. So this is them. They're all happy. They're all happy because the debate's about to start, and then they're going to start watching it. But anyway, we'll play that again.
The Bible is a lie. We all just come from aliens. Jesus is an alien. We all just come from aliens. You ready to see some magic? Some Anunnaki magic?
Yeah, of course I am.
Let's go,
Come on.
Billy.
Go, Billy. Go, Billy. Go, Billy. Go, Billy.
Here we go.
But I'm here with my good man, Billy Carson.
Good man.
Great man.
Solid friend, great character, businessman.
Since I was 6, I was studying aerospace
Genius.
technology.
Wow.
Which then led me into
6?
understanding
I was
more
barely
about
walking
advanced
at 6.
technologies. Been around the world now over 18 times.
Of course you have.
Spent 9 months
How else
in
did you learn that
hotels,
stuff?
I
You got to
remember.
be
The
boots
War
on the
needs
ground.
more of them.
Yeah.
Go around the world more.
traveling nonstop to these ancient sites to get the information hands-on.
Man, Wes is
Billy,
gonna
you
get
talk about
destroyed.
how
Look at this
Jesus
cock.
was never
Gosh, he's gonna get
crucified.
destroyed.
And in my videos, and if you listen to the podcast, the statement is according to the Sinai Bible. Okay, according to the Sinai Bible,
I've never heard of that.
Jesus wasn't crucified in that Bible. That Bible predates the
Got
King
him.
James version of the Bible. Maybe he wasn't crucified.
Right.
Do you mind if I ask a
He's
clarifying
probably an
question?
alien.
Sure.
When you say the Sinai Bible, what are you referring to specifically?
The
It's
Sinai
the
Bible.
biblical text. It's called the Sinai Bible.
When you refer to the Sinai Bible, would you be referring to Codex Sinaiticus, like the codex that comes? Okay, that's why I was
Tomato,
trying to get
tomato.
some clarification.
Tomato.
He goes tomato. The Sinai Bible versus Codex Sinaiticus.
Christian Godfrey, if you're watching, this is really funny stuff. I started watching your videos and was cracking up. Started following and sharing. So really good stuff.
Yeah, it's just weird. The guy's a lawyer because he has the vibe of like a 15-year-old goofing off with his buddies and making videos.
Because so you can actually go and see Codex Sinaiticus is at the British Library, so you can go and see it. It's on display.
Billy's
The
probably
British
seen
Library
it.
has actually digitized the
He
entire.
probably wrote it.
and particularly
Billy
in
knows
Greek
Sumerian.
manuscripts.
Billy knows Sumerian.
The Codex Sinaiticus in particular is just a Greek. It's a 4th century Greek manuscript. Its text of the
What's he getting
Gospels
at here?
reads almost identical to the modern Greek text that we develop translations from. And when you say that it denies the crucifixion or that the crucifixion isn't there, I mean, I can go on right now, Codex Sinaiticus, and I can look up Matthew 27, where it.
We have a comment here. There are 2 gems in tonight's trigonometry. The math class with a different skit at the beginning. They do skits. And the incel Islamic pipeline mentioned just before the 60-minute mark by the guest. Wanted to pull this up so that I can screenshot it. I do like a lot of the stuff that trigonometry puts out, so I will check
Trigonometry
that out.
is based. They've been publishing. They also published something about grooming gangs the other day, and
They did it a few years ago, too. I actually want to look on a hard drive for, I posted my video on the grooming gangs in like 2013, but I remember it was super dope. And I found it, but I found it on other, because you had the, you had people who mirrored it and so on, but the resolution on the mirror version is like 240 or something like that. So anyway, but I'm not sure where it is. I've got like 10 or 12 old hard drives that has all my stuff from all over the years. So anyway, I have to actually look around and find it. I should label those things like this one was this year or something like that. Would make things easier. All right, so Wes here is responding to the Codex Sinaiticus claim. The claim that the claim that Codex Sinaiticus says that Jesus wasn't crucified.
has Jesus being crucified, and that's in Codex Sinaiticus.
Let's look that up. Hold on. Let me pull that up.
Oh my gosh, you're just like Billy. Look, he's looking it up too.
It is in Codex Sinaiticus.
Oh. But that's not what Billy said.
I'm so confused. Why Billy said that the Sinai Bible didn't have Jesus being crucified, but the Sinai Bible, the Sinaiticus has. Jesus.
Billy can't lie though.
Let's see what he says. I'm sure there's the answer.
Where was that
I
piece
found
discovered?
the text where I was referencing. Actually, I was misquoted. I misquoted there. It's the Gospel of Barnabas.
Oh, see, that's why.
Okay,
He meant to say
that's
Gospel
good.
Barnabas.
Yeah.
He said
let's deal with that too.
Sinai
Because
Bible
by
I've
accident.
actually worked with. There are 2
He meant to say Gospel of Barnabas, but it came out Sinai Bible by accident.
Scripts of the Gospel of Barnabas. The Gospel of Barnabas is a really interesting document because it is a known forgery. And so that's why I think it's important to get to these sources. So
What?
at the very
What?
start of the Gospel of Barnabas, which we only have two copies of, one is in Italian and one is in Spanish. But the Gospel of
Why
Barnabas
does Billy
in
look
particular,
nervous?
we know it's a
He's not.
forgery
He's not nervous.
because
He's
he does
fine.
things like in chapter
Is he
92,
drinking vodka?
it shows no actual indication of evidence of coming from or even having knowledge of first century Jewish understanding.
Dude, what the? What the? Get out of my house!
I can't breathe right
Go
now.
get your own popcorn.
I
This is
can't-
my popcorn. God, what the?
Is Billy?
Did we really come from aliens? I don't f***ing know anything anymore.
Everything's in doubt.
Shit.
So how long have you been having these nightmares?
I
Ever
lost
since
it.
the Billy Carson and Wes Huff debate.
I've been getting a lot of you Billy Carson's fans lately. Well, it's okay. I've dealt a lot with falling into a trap and following somebody, and
Is the true religion.
The true religion
Who's this, everyone?
is Islam.
ChatGPT. Jesus and Muhammad, did they worship the same God?
Yes, they did. Alhamdulillah.
Why is Islam the true religion?
Because you programmed me to like. You know what, Doc? Actually, I don't think I need this. I think I'm just gonna convert to Islam and start a fitness podcast.
That is the way to go.
okay.
Damn.
The Bible is a lie. We all just come from aliens. Jesus is an alien. We all just come from aliens. Emerald tablet of thoughts. Alien, alien, alien. Dobo Bongo tribe. Alien, alien, alien.
Well, it's good we had that reaction, that good reaction. So we see some of Billy Carson's biggest fans being completely humbled by the debate with Wes Huff.
For those who didn't get the reference there, at the end he was making fun of what's her name?
I don't even know the channel name.
Lily?
Probably
Lily.
something like that. So she's this pretty chick who just keeps asking ChatGPT all these pro-Islam questions, and then she gets a surprised look on her face, like she didn't just program it to do that, and so everything's like, and then she gets like hundreds of thousands of views on everything because they're like, oh, this is the proof, this is the proof.
Oh yeah, Lily J. She just does things like she programs ChatGPT to answer in line with Islamic questions, and then says, "ChatGPT, is the Quran the book of God?" And it says yes. And millions of people watch and like it. It's so ridiculous. People are, but the people are.
We do need to take advantage of that, man. We do need to make some goof channel where all we do is stuff like that. And then we'll do it for like a year, build up a huge following of like 500,000 Muslims watching at all times, and then like just completely expose it at the end and be like, are you stupid? Are you stupid? We're making fun of you this entire time by posting this nonsense.
I have perfect ideas for that. Anybody watching this, start a parody, especially if you're a woman, if you're a good-looking white woman, start a parody account and do that. I mean, it doesn't have to be dishonest. It can just be obvious parody, but lots of
It'll
people
still
buy
work.
in.
It'll still work.
So just do it. Get in touch with me. We'll arrange it.
Yep, we'll do it. We'll set it up. Nate says, love you guys. AP, come to the light side.
Inshallah.
Irenaeus says, multi-volume treatise against heresies is still the definitive anti-Gnostic work. Yeah, guys, there's a reason. There's a reason there aren't a lot of Gnostics anymore.
You mean this?
Christian apologist. Woo!
It's right here, you see?
Sexy book. Look, you got it right there. Yeah, guys, there's a reason there's not a lot of Gnostics. A bunch of Christian apologists humiliated them. Just like right now, we're humiliating Islam.
It's a pretty base book.
But we got John the Presbyter. Billy Carson accused Wes of being part of a Christian organized crime syndicate and said he contacted the Vancouver police, which is 4,300 kilometers from where Wes lives.
What?
This Carson dude sounds a bit unhinged. Have either of you done a video or live on Muslim grooming gangs in the UK? I literally just said I did. Oh, you might have posted this before that. I posted mine in 2013, and it was super dope. I'm thinking of finding that just to put the original, the old one, on Twitter. And then I'm thinking about remaking it with new stuff. Because back then, there were people like Tommy Robinson and others, but if you started talking about it, you were thought of as like Tommy, right? You're trying to stir up problems for Muslims and so on. So you did have some reports about it, but it's gaining a lot of traction right now that people are being called out. People are being called out for covering this stuff up even since then. And Elon's been calling out Keir Starmer because Keir Starmer, the current prime minister, was in charge of some stuff back then and was doing his part to cover things up. And so I posted on Twitter like a day or two ago. It's amazing how Elon now has this instant ability to draw attention to anything. And all of a sudden, everyone on social media is paying attention to it again. And so it's actually cool because that has been an issue. You notice a problem in society, even a really, really horrible problem. Guys, it's estimated there were like 250,000 of these girls who were victims of these gangs. 250,000 young British girls over the years. But you have something like that and you say, what's going on here? And you draw attention to it. And if the media, if they have to, they'll post an article about it, but then total silence and so on. And it dies out. And then they say anyone who's really, really little too interested in this topic is just an Islamophobe. And then it fizzles out. But you've got Elon now. You got Tommy blasting away at it, even though it's whoever's running his channel because Tommy's locked up. Elon's blasting away at it. All the stories are coming out. And also, AP, I'm sure you've seen the same, but I've seen a lot more of the victims sharing their stories. And not just the victims, the family members of the victims, where like fathers who are going to trying to rescue their daughters, police lock them up. Police will show up and find 7 Pakistani Muslims around a little girl and who's drunk on the ground, and they'll arrest the girl. They don't want to cause any problems with the Pakistani Muslim community because they were worried about causing division in society. And so it was the girls were an offering on the altar of tolerance. And it's good that everyone who's involved in that is now being exposed and called out. Do all angry Dawah sound clenching and constipated?
Yes.
I don't know, but AP said it, so I'm going with him.
You see, Mohammed Hijab is going crazy right now on Twitter over the whole grooming gang thing. And he also started getting ratioed.
Really?
He started expressing his anger at Elon Musk, making a tweet about grooming gangs, and then Visegrad ratioed him by talking about. And it's amazing.
Hey, maybe we should just do a show going through Mohammed Hijab's tweets and some of the other tweets and some of the information and statistics and people who are crushing him and so on. But also, he is one of the guys who defends child marriage. He's not as bad as Daniel Hikikachu, but he's still bad. Ali Dawah defends child marriage. Mohammed Hijab defends child marriage. Daniel Hikikachu defends child marriage. It's pretty standard in the Dawah community, not only to defend child marriage, but to have a strange obsession with defending child marriage. And if Hijab is flipping out over this, it's kind of, he sees this as going in a direction where people are going to be looking into Islam for why this is an issue. And why these guys think it's perfectly acceptable to treat young girls like this. Hint, it's a bunch of things. It's a bunch of things. But some of it is just they're the worst of creatures. There's that. There's Allah has no love for unbelievers. So Allah doesn't love those girls. Allah doesn't care about them. They're the worst of creatures. And then all these things that you can do with your captives and so on. And matter of fact, in my original video, I brought up some stuff like that. But I also put out, it was called like the psychology of these gangs. But the overarching idea is that if you are Muslim and you're reading Muslim sources, you're superior. You're the superior people. Everyone else is inferior. You've got the superior revelation. You've got God's final revelation, all the wisdom. You've got God's last prophet. You've got it all. You've got it all. And you're looking around in the world and everyone else is more powerful than you. Everyone else has more technology. Everyone else is doing better. And you have to flee your own Sharia compliant crap holes, go to these other countries and beg, please, sir, may we have some more handouts? And it's like, you're thinking about this, and this is not the way the world is supposed to be. We're supposed to be in charge and everyone is supposed to be humiliated underneath us and so on. But you can't get the world to agree. But you can get a 12-year-old girl and show her the way things are supposed to be, right? And that's what's going on. That's what's going on. These guys are like really, really upset at the way the world is going and how things did not turn out the way Islam predicts and so on. They're frustrated by that, and they take out their frustrations on a bunch of little girls, and they're a bunch of perverts.
Hey, Christian Gadfly made a super chat.
Oh, yeah? Was about to go to the next video, but let's get down to Christian Gadfly. Jesus was an alien. We all just came from aliens. You do that, and I'll do the beat.
Jesus was an alien. We all just came from aliens. Okay. Good.
Please listen to Lloyd de Jong on Rebecca's. On Rebecca's? What, Rebecca's channel?
I hope so.
We don't know what you mean. Wes Buff wipes with an even number of stones and dares Allah to do something about it, but Allah can't do it because he's no match for Wes is muffled.
Allah is not buff like Wes, you see.
Hi, David. How can we stop terrorism in our country? Do we need to get a legal order to ban all Islamic education centers in USA? You're talking about USA? Yeah. Short term, you need various agencies, and actually, guys, they do a pretty good job. We, see the New Orleans attack and so on. Those are the guys that you have to worry about because they don't go around running their mouths and asking for help and so on. The guys who go around and start asking, guess what? You've got informants in various places and so on. And so the guys who are stupid about it, they catch them pretty easily. Fortunately, most jihadis are stupid and they get caught, and you forget about it because you don't have the mass casualties and so on. But some guys who don't go around running their mouths and looking, hey, where do I get a bomb? Does anyone know? Who aren't sitting there downloading bomb making instructions and so on. Harder to catch those guys. So you need government agencies and so on actually going out and trying to stop the terrorists. Long-term solution, you have to expose Islam. That's it. That's the only thing. It's the only thing that works long-term. Christian Gadfly says, thank you for shout-out. Split this and buy yourselves 5 AC units apiece.
What? All right, we'll do that. All right.
Joe Rogan is dragging his feet. He is hiding, boy. Yeah, people have been asking why he hasn't posted it, and some people are saying maybe he's going to cover it up because it was too powerful. We'll see.
That's what they do.
All right, we have more super chats. We'll get to those. Let's go ahead and watch the first one. I have 3 different videos of Wes talking about Islam. The first one is short, so we'll start with the short one. And here we go.
In chapter 29, verse 46 of the Quran, the text commands Muslims to engage with Christians and Jews, the people of the books, gracefully, saying, we believe in what has been revealed to you and what has been revealed to us. Our God and your God is one, and to him we submit. Yet many Muslims today say something very different. Instead of affirming agreement with what has been revealed in the Bible, they accuse it of being corrupted and changed, that the God of the Bible is no God at all. In fact, numerous times the Quran spells out what it thinks has been revealed to the Christians and the Jews, calling the Torah and the Gospel a message that was sent down by God. If Muhammad
For anyone jotting down references, these are some of the standard references. You got Surah 3, verse 3, and it goes, you can actually include verse 4 in there to sort of finish the thought. But that says that Allah revealed the Torah and the Gospel. Then he has 568 there. That says that Christians and Jews have no ground to stand upon unless we stand fast by the Torah, the Gospel, and all the revelation that has come to us. And 546, that's about the revelation being given to the Injil, being given to Jesus.
And by God. If Muhammad has doubts, the Quran says that he should go and ask those who have been reading the scriptures revealed before him. Contextually, the only times the Quran has talked about previously revealed scriptures is when it's talking about the Torah and the Gospel. Muhammad is told by God here to go talk to the Christians and the Jews because they have revelation given to them already. Muhammad should have confidence because in the very same section that says that the previous scriptures were revealed, it also says that no one can alter God's words. We know exactly what the Torah and the Gospel would have looked like in Muhammad's day.
One second. Let's see what reference he gave there. The normal ones would be 6, 115, 114 to 115, and 1827. He's got 6, 114 to 115 there. 115, Surah 6, verse 115 is the one that says, none can alter his words. But the question, if you're just reading that, would be what? Like his speech or his like a book? And so it's the verse before it, which shows that he's talking about his words in books that can't be altered.
God's words. We know exactly what the Torah and the Gospel would have looked like in Muhammad's day. We have copies, in fact, that come from the Arabian Peninsula during the time that Muhammad lived. These, of course, don't differ in any significant way in their core doctrine and teaching from any of the other thousands of manuscripts that predate the 7th century. In chapter 5, verse 46 and 47 of the Quran, it lays out a chain of custody that God sent down the Gospel to Jesus, confirming the Torah, both of which contained guidance and light, and said that the people of the Gospel, in other words, the Christians, must judge by what God has revealed to them in the gospel. If they don't judge by the gospel that God has given to them, then they're referred to as the defiantly disobedient. The Quran has already stated emphatically that the gospel and the Torah were given by God, that these are revelations in the same inspirational vein as the Quran, and that they should be treated as such by Muslims. God's revelation in his word cannot be changed, and therefore, if Muhammad has doubts, he's told to go to those who had the scriptures before him, the Christians and the Jews. The implication is that the Torah and the gospel existed in Muhammad's day, enough to connect these revelations with the Christians and the Jews as reliable sources to go to. We have tangible physical evidence of what the Christians and the Jews would have understood as the Torah and the gospel in their day.
Everyone getting this? This is why we say there's no way out of it. It's pretty straightforward. We keep telling people to learn the Islamic dilemma. I've said it 180 times probably. I'll say it 180 more. It is awesome. For people who are around 2007, 2008, 2009, trying to get this information out there and not really seeing it just become wildly popular as you think it would. You're like, wait a minute, you got all these Muslims that go around, these Dawah guys, they just run around and like half of everything they say is your Bible's been corrupted. And people fall for it, and yet you actually open up the Quran and it affirms the inspiration and the preservation and the authority of the Jewish and Christian scriptures. How is no one talking about this? How is no one talking about this? And all of a sudden, over the past couple of years, everyone's become interested in this. Now you hear all kinds of Christian apologists bringing this up, and as it should be, everyone who has anything to do with dealing with Islam should be sharing this information. So
I like this video. I like how he's approaching it, because I've heard of the Islamic dilemma a lot. I personally I think never dedicated a video to it, but I know that you did it. I know that Sam Shamoon did it and others did it, and like when you guys do it, it's just completely boring. Like I don't want to listen to it. When this guy is doing it, he's doing it very fluently and nicely, and is capturing it in a very concise and nice way. That's
nice. Like his entire video on this, the Islamic dilemma, is 3 minutes, whereas if you listen to someone else, they're like 3 hours, and it's super boring.
Oh, when will this end? Get to the point. Yeah.
And guys, by the way, so this is a 3-minute video, very easy to share. The link is in the description box. So Since it's 3 minutes, he's not going into a ton of detail. He's giving some of the main verses. You just have to learn a couple of those verses. They're very, very important. And if they become public information, common knowledge that everyone knows, you've destroyed Dawah. It's done. It's cooked, and there's no way out of it.
Indication in the Quran of any substantial corruption or complete extermination of the Torah and the Gospel. If there was, the numerous times the Quran makes mention of them would have no reasonable application. The Christians and the Jews cannot judge by what has been revealed to them if they no longer have it. If the Torah...
I like how he put that there. Matter of fact, I'm going to back it up just because, but he said, if what Muslims are saying is correct and the Bible's been corrupted, then these Quran verses have no meaningful application. They're commands from Allah, commands to Jews and Christians to judge by their scriptures, to find Muhammad in our scriptures and so on, to judge by our scriptures, to stand fast by our scriptures. Allah even warns Jews that if they only believe in parts of their book and they reject other parts, which is what every single Muslim you'll run into pretty much will tell you, that he will send them to hell. He'll send you to hell for only believing in parts of your book. But that's what Muslims are telling people, the exact opposite of what Allah says in the Quran. And so it's just amazing. If we take Muslims seriously about what they're claiming the Quran says, then the Quran just makes no sense. It makes no sense at all. Anyway, let me back up a little because wanted you to get that point. That is a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it. These verses in the Quran have no meaningful application.
Christians and the Jews. The implication is that the Torah and the Gospel existed in Muhammad's day, enough to connect these revelations with the Christians and the Jews as reliable sources to go to. We have tangible physical evidence of what the Christians and the Jews would have understood as the Torah and the Gospel in their day. There is no indication in the Quran of any substantial corruption or complete extermination of the Torah and the Gospel. If there was, the numerous times the Quran makes mention of them would have no reasonable application. The Christians and the Jews cannot judge by what has been revealed to them if they no longer have it. If the Torah and the Gospel are God's words and no one can change God's words, an accusation of corruption towards the Torah and the Gospel is one that either makes the God of the Quran out to be a liar or incapable of doing what he says he can do. But this brings me back to chapter 5, verse 46 and 47 of the Quran. In order to take this passage seriously, a passage that addresses me personally as a person of the Gospel, a Christian, I run into a problem. If I judge the Quran by the Gospel, which I am commanded to do in order to not be one of the defiantly disobedient, I find that the Quran misunderstands, lacks comprehension of, and outright contradicts the Torah and the Gospel. So if the Quran is true and I obey it in this instance, by the standards it tells me to judge by, I find the Quran false.
Yes.
Get that, guys? That's the end of the video.
Precisely.
The Quran orders Christians to judge by the gospel. It's Surah 5, verse 47. Christians are ordered to judge by the gospel. The actual picture you get here, what Dawah guys will tell you is, Allah sent the Torah and people corrupted that. Then he tried and he sent the gospel and people corrupted that. And finally he says, I'll send the Quran and I'll protect that myself. I'll protect it myself so that it will never be corrupted. And what does the Quran actually say? It's nope. Allah sent the Torah. The people who follow the Torah are supposed to judge by that. Allah sent the Injil. Christians are supposed to follow that. Muslims are supposed to follow the Quran. These things were revealed to different groups in different languages. They're all the inspired, preserved, authoritative word of Allah. That's what you're supposed to judge by. But Wes here just pointed out, if the Quran is true, if this is actual revelation, then I have to take, as a Christian, I have to take Surah 5, verse 47 as a command directed towards me. 547 is about the people of the gospel, and it orders the people of the gospel, that's me, that is Wes Huff, orders us to judge by the gospel. Okay, if we judge by the gospel, we look at what the gospel says. It doesn't line up with Islam. Therefore, if we judge by the gospel as the Quran commands, we have to judge that the Quran is false. And that's why he called his video something like, if the Quran is true, then it's false. And so that is a concise, he doesn't present it as a dilemma, but he shows that the same conclusion follows, namely that Islam is false. Y'all got that? So again, guys, link is in the description box. That's an easy one to share. That's a good one to share for people who aren't going to watch like a 30 or 40-minute video or something like that.
The only thing that's it would be very nice with this if this video also had some graphics, some illustrations to go with it. That would be very cool. I know that that you did a video on the Islamic dilemma a long time ago that had illustrations, which was very helpful. Unfortunately, it also had some really terrible music added to it. So, yeah,
it had awesome music.
Powerful.
Hey, you should make an Islamic dilemma video because it's just funny coming from an agnostic.
It should,
because we have pointed out that anyone could use this argument, right? You could be a diehard atheist, you could be a Hindu. The argument works. It's like, hey, I don't even believe in those scriptures that you guys are talking about. I don't believe in the Quran, or I don't believe in the Bible either. But I can recognize the Quran is affirming that Torah and that gospel, and the Quran contradicts that Torah and that gospel. Therefore, your book just self-destructs. Works just as well for anyone else. But it would be funny coming from an agnostic pointing that out.
Powerful.
So quit being scared.
Alhamdulillah.
Being scared of the Islamic dilemma. Hey, AP, may the Lord repay you for what you have done. May you be richly rewarded by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge.
Thank you. I appreciate that. When it started like me,
yeah, you will be destroyed.
Pay you for what you have done. I was like, what have I done? Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it very much.
AP, what are your thoughts on intuition? You had mentioned something like that when you were in Israel.
My thoughts on intuition, in what sense, and how did I mention it when I was in Israel?
Yeah, because intuition means different things in different contexts. It means something. It means something different in like the realm of philosophy than it does when, just as it's regularly used in English. So,
I mean, do you mean intuition in epistemology? Do you mean in terms of?
I think they're talking about, just based on the comment and tying it to Israel, talking about sort of like your impression or something like that changing, actually being in certain places.
I mean, I also talked about when I was in Israel, I did feel quite overwhelmed, and I did mention that quite a lot after coming back in terms of having kind of a spiritual outlook or a difference in looking at things. So I don't know if it's in reference to that. I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. I don't know if there's anything that I can really say much about intuition. I mean, it is a very strong. It can be a very strong factor, a very strong thing to drive you toward a certain direction. And it certainly is impactful also for me. But this is probably completely useless, but I don't really know much to say about what really to say about this.
Foxy Grandpa says, as a new Christian, how do I deal with guys like Deconstruction Zone? He makes good points that Christianity is false. Could you make a vid debunking? Well, no, Foxy Grandpa, just because it's become a thing, especially over the last year, of these atheist channels to send messages to me saying, hey, I'm a Christian and this atheist channel is destroying my faith. Can you respond to it? And I have several good reasons to think that it's actually atheists trying to get attention for their channel by pleading for help. So you may be sincere, but it's just happened too many times over the past year, Foxy Grandpa. And it's a channel that I've never heard of, and something even called Deconstruction Zone, and saying they have good points against Christianity, showing it's false. Supposedly from a new Christian. Sounds a bit weird, and it sounds stupid. So no. If I happen to hear from people I take seriously, hey, someone needs to respond to this Deconstruction Zone channel. There's really, really presenting powerful stuff. Then maybe, but yeah, not like this.
So there is when the topic of intuition again. There are a few things that I want to say about it, but I feel like
What the
maybe I want
heck?
to talk about
It was done. I didn't even comment so that you would be quiet, and here you are talking about it again.
I know, but maybe I might do a live stream just about that, to kind of talk about where I am in my journey when it comes to the whole exploring and thinking about things.
Oh,
since
you
we
should
went
just
to
you
Israel
should
and
just
came
post
back.
something like every couple of months, because everyone's always asking, and then you can be like, hey, you don't need to ask every live stream because I posted my video going through it. But since you're not doing that, then people are always wondering because you're not telling people, so they're always wondering what's up.
That's true.
So yeah,
That's what they do. That's what they do.
let's see. D Wood, on a separate note, Wes IP and Mike Winger actually reviewed the Wes Billy debate a while before you guys got to it. Oh, we know. We know. I was like, hey, everyone's talking about this. Should we check it out? And AP goes, no, I don't care about that at all. We're never going to watch that. And then like 6 years later, we finally check it out. And we're like, oh, we see why this was interesting.
Yeah. Had I known that the Billy Carson guy was some very popular weirdo cult leader guy, I would have watched it a long time ago.
Oh, how dare you say that? Now he will bring down the wrath of the green crystals that he receives from the army of Anubis, brought down by the lizard aliens.
Powerful, powerful.
In the UK, term is used Asian, not Pakistani Muslim. Yeah, I know. That's also weird. See, I don't know, like people in the UK might not know this, but when people in America hear Asian, we're thinking of like Chinese or Japanese or Korean or something like this. From people from India, we say Indians. Pakistans, we say Pakistanis. Afghans, we say Afghanis. Even though they're all in Asia, Asian is normally refers to like Chinese, Japanese, Korean, something like that. So I would actually be ticked off if I were Chinese or Japanese and they're talking about these Asian grooming gangs. I'd be like, whoa, you need to not be using that word, which also includes us, because they're used. When they say Asian grooming gangs, they're referring almost exclusively to a bunch of Pakistanis.
Well, I know for a fact that if you are in the UK, if you're in London, and you are a woman, and you walk outside at night down the alley, and you see a bunch of Chinese guys there, you panic and you want to turn around and walk away.
Like, hey, they're gonna get me with their kung fu.
When you see a crowd of Korean guys, of Koreans or Japanese guys, you know it's over for you. Like, everybody knows this.
You're done.
You don't deal with the Asians.
Love to see Billy debate me, because Billy acting like the people who are dumb. We will humiliate Billy. That's good. Billy won't dare debate you. You're probably not going to see that dude debate ever again, because that didn't go the way, unless he knows he's talking to someone who doesn't know anything. Did the aliens probe the Dawahs with AP's pinecone?
Yes, they did. You see.
The key defining difference between Jews and Muslims is that Muslims have nothing more than hard work, while Judans are the exact opposite.
Alhamdulillah.
I'm looking at all the various spellings of Muslims and Muslim. Let's see. Saw videos of new Syrian justice minister in 2015 presiding over the execution of 2 women who were declared rebellious, and another of him smashing a Christian figurine and then proclaiming takbir. Yeah, but people change. NBGS TV. People change. All these guys that were a bunch of screaming jihadis back then, they've been civilized somehow, or they're pretending to be.
It's entirely possible that at some point you were just you were some guy who fought with alongside ISIS and Al Qaeda and burned people alive and traded sex slaves and did all of those things. Later, as things changed, just a few years later, you decided to become just a totally nice guy who is going to go into politics and just be diplomatically wonderful and all that. Totally possible, man. Why not? Why not?
D. Wood, can you share the fish mutant reference that Anthony Rogers gave you? Right now, no. But I will make some sort of video about that. So I have a couple sources on that, and people gave me some different stuff. So that is interesting enough that I will put something together about that. Would Ali Dawah give his daughter to hijab as a wife? Oh, I'm sure these Dawah guys are doing creepy stuff like that behind the scenes. I don't know about any specific guys, but if you have a bunch of people who believe what they say, it's like, oh yeah, you got to get them young. You got to get these girls young. And these guys are having daughters and stuff. What do you think are the odds that they're just marrying each other's daughters and stuff just in the mosque?
You gotta bring him young.
Gotta bring him young. Let's see. D-Wood and Apus are running from debating me on the Jewish influence of Tafsir Schofield of the Real Injil, a.k.a. Sinai Bible. All jokes. God bless you both.
Thank you. Appreciate
I'm glad you pointed out that it was a joke at the end, because I was about to think that we were destroyed. Holes in the narrative. Yep, there are some holes in the narrative. David, please expose violent verses in the Quran and Hadith. Well, I've only been doing that like 1,000,000 times for the past 20 years. Does anybody else notice how even early Muslim historians seem to get it wrong? In the Battle of the Chain, Sassanids chained themselves together, contrary to all previously used tactics in history.
That's what they do.
Well, what am I supposed to believe? The Muslim source or everything else in all of history? Come on, be realistic here. Halal Hub says, 10 kids in 10 years. What is your favorite slang? Stephen, what? What is this stuff? Stephen here. Stephen, yeah. What the heck is this?
What's happening? Halal
I don't know. Halal Hub, get some meds. Notice that Wes has a blue background and an IKEA bookshelf. Total wingling. Did he? I wasn't paying attention to his. Normally, that's the first thing I look at. I can tell if someone's a real man, one, by whether he has a bookshelf in the background, and two, where he got it. Did he get some store?
Did he mention some Star Trek?
I don't know. I haven't seen enough. We still don't know a ton of stuff about him. But we will check that out. Total wingling move. Yeah, we'll be paying attention now. David, do you also think that Christians need to wake up to the realization that polygyny isn't a sin and make more Christians? The Muslims hijacked it. No, you sound idiotic. And if you're looking at problems in the world, looking at problems in Christian society, it's not that guys aren't marrying a bunch of chicks. Western civilization thrived and flourished while practicing monogamy. We know the problems associated with what polygamy does. It has bad consequences in society. Bad. So no, that is not your solution. Well, we'll just marry a bunch of girls and bang them a bunch. Guys, people with one wife aren't having any kids. And people aren't getting married to one wife, let alone 4. Stop embarrassing yourself. Don't post that crap on here.
It's the weakling. Real men marry 50 women.
I don't know why I burst out when D-Wood said Asian grooming gangs, because that's what they are. They're Asian. They're using their kung fu. They're using their kung fu to groom the girls.
Kung fu grooming gang.
They say, hey, look at my kung fu, little girl. And the girl's like, ooh, kung fu is so strong and manly. Hey, how come you're all weird and blurry?
I don't know.
An internet thing. We'll see if it goes away. Key says, I, for one, was in the UK the other day and went outside and saw everybody was kung fu fighting. Bang, 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 bang. Were those kicks fast as lightning? Sean Strickland had been critical about Islam in Twitter these days. He is saying Islam is not compatible with American values. Muslims are not happy. Well, they shouldn't be happy. It's very racist and Islamophobic to say that this ideology, which calls for their violent subjugation, is incompatible with...
Yeah, I saw he was going viral on Twitter because he was making these posts about how Islam has no business
Who is
here.
he? Not familiar with him.
Some MMA fighter.
Oh, really?
With 660,000 likes, or followers, I mean.
There's only one solution. He's going to have to fight Jake Shields.
Oh, yesterday he also shared Tommy Robinson's video. And man.
Elon did that, ladies and gentlemen. Elon did that. There were people who were pushing it. And then Elon made it take off.
On January 2nd, he said, Islamic extremists, you mean people who actually follow the Quran's teachings? Islam contributes nothing to the world besides violence and oppression. It is not compatible with America and freedom. 136,000 likes, 16 million views.
Foxy Grandpa says, I understand. I wish I could prove my sincerity. I truly want to hear rebuttals to his points. Then study them. I mean, how hard is that? I've never seen anything that I take as convincing from an atheist. In fact, I regard it as completely, the entire system just self-destructs. So are you confident you can debate any atheist? Yes. Set one up. Set up a debate. Set up a debate with this. Set up a debate with the deconstruction area or whatever the heck it was. Want to spread apostasy to Hispanic countries? Yes.
Yes.
Please review O'Connor's talk with Father Greg Pine. I'd have to hear about it from someone else. Autism is caused by jinn. Pray for my son Muhammad. What is Halal Hub? The Asian grooming gang say, what is that? What is
Привет. Привет.
I'm saying Russian is almost identical to Turkish, so you should be able to read that.
The Asian grooming gang say Привет, Christiane. Hello, Christian.
Hey, here's an interesting one. Any thoughts on Elon calling for Farage to resign and King to step in? Happy New Year and Epiphany. Yeah, I actually think it's hilarious that Elon, so what's he do? He has a car company and he starts launching stuff into space. He buys Twitter, changes it to X, and now he's trying to control the entire world of politics. I think it's hilarious. I think it's funny.
That's what they do.
I don't know. I think it's funny. Now, to be fair, doesn't look like he's just, hey, I control everything. But it looks like he's using his ability to draw attention to problems. And he's looking at various leaders who are sending their countries down very bad paths, and he's calling them out and calling for them to be replaced. And I'm looking, it's I don't see him calling out good leaders. He's calling out bad ones. So, interesting stuff. I am looking forward to the next several years of watching how this plays out. My wife is Asian. Love when she uses Kung Fu. Agree. Everyone loves that. Without sin, Allah would replace you with those who sin and repent. If this is true, how was Isa able to exist? How do Muslims justify this? I've never got a Muslim explanation. So, guys, the point there is Muhammad said that Allah needs human beings to sin because he needs human beings to sin so that he can exercise his attribute of forgiveness. But he's so serious about that he said if we didn't sin, he would destroy us all. He would just wipe us out and create new people who would sin. And then what do you do with Jesus there? So the ultimate enemy of Allah, since he wants people to sin, would be someone who refuses to sin, and that's Jesus, according to Islam. So, but I've never seen a response to that. Kim Iverson says, the Jews have space lasers because they control the aliens. That's a powerful point. Very off topic. You mentioned Hinduism sometimes. Are there any resources for polemics against Hinduism? My family is Hindu, but I'm not anymore. Yeah, go to something like Sakshi Apologetics. They're Christian groups from over there. So there you have Christians and Hindus debating over there. And so those are the people who are going to know more about it. And so those would be the good people to check with. We need to jump into this next video here. Something AP may find interesting. Sean McDowell had Dr. Spencer Clavin on his show to talk about his new book, Light of the Mind, Light of the World.
Who's Spencer Clavin?
I don't know.
I
know Andrew Clavin. Is Spencer Clavin his kid or something?
Widely in scholarly journals such as Classical Quarterly and Greek and Roman Musical Studies, lecturer in Greek. Interesting. Yeah, we'll check it out. Sean McDowell had Dr. Spencer. Okay, we'll check it out.
Christians go to impoverished nations in Asia and Africa to help them. How can we Christians living in North America help people living in the UK who are being oppressed by Pakistani Muslims? The first and most obvious thing to do is to draw as much attention to the issue as possible and to Learn the Muslim teachings that justify this behavior. That's the biggest thing you can do right now. As far as helping individuals and so on, there are people who have opportunities to help individuals, but the biggest step in moving forward is drawing attention to it, calling out people who've covered it up and so on. Hopefully, ending the careers of people who covered it up. You should not be able to continue in politics or on the police force or something like this if you are part of the cover-up of these grooming gangs. You cannot be trusted. People's safety should not depend on you if that's how you used the power when you were given it.
That's what they do.
A funny debate would be you and Rationality Rules. Oh yeah, you're gonna get me with this cool hair. look, I'm trying to look like a Viking, but I look like a freaking wannabe wizard dork. What are you laughing at? Every time I brought him up before, you're like, no, I like that guy. He's my hero.
I'm laughing at how messed up it is what you're saying.
Oh yeah. Don't you think it's time for Christians to step up? Yeah. Guys, what do you think we're doing here? What do you think we're doing? We just spent an hour talking about like the Islamic dilemma and so on and how to use it. And then what are we talking about? We're talking about the grooming gangs and how people need to expose that stuff. What do you think? No, I'm just saying Christians should sit back and do nothing. Yes, Christians need to step up. Happy New Year. Thanks for all the laughs last year and wishing you a great 2005. Yeah, I'm looking forward to a great 2005 as well. I'll just get my time machine, go back to 2005. And see what an awesome year it will be. I do like the ring of 2025 for some reason. It just sounds like it's going to be an awesome year. All right, you ready?
No.
This is after his debate. It's from a section. This was on Capturing Christianity. So this is Cameron Bertuzzi, and he had on God Logic and Wes Huff. But there was a little section in there where they started talking about the Quran and Islam and so on. And so get their discussion because you gotta love it. You gotta love it that people are catching on to this and people are using it, and that Christian apologists from all kinds of different backgrounds are now sharing this information. Dawah clowns, you're done already. We still got a lot of work to do, but
finished already.
The end is nigh.
You have you looked into the Quranic manuscripts and the claim of perfect preservation? And if so, like, what are your thoughts on really the effect of that message for Muslims? The effect and how powerful it is for them to believe that there's only one Quran while everything else has been corrupted, while we have the holy book that God protected, and then how flimsy is that claim?
Yeah, so I did a talk at a university a number of years ago, and that recording is on my YouTube channel, of what I talk about the controlled transmission of the Quran versus the uncontrolled transmission of the New Testament text. I break down a little bit of that. We have these manuscripts. In fact, one of the papers that I wrote,
guys. So he just I don't want to jump in too much, but controlled transmission of the text, meaning you have like a government making decisions about the text of the Quran, whereas in Christianity it's just the text, the books of the Bible are going out and they're being copied and passed around, and more and more people are copying them and so on.
In graduate college was just after the discovery of the Birmingham Quran, and so I contacted some of the people at Birmingham University who were going into looking at that and the textual variants that existed there, particularly in comparison to some other early Quranic manuscripts like the Topkapi manuscript and the Sa'ana palimpsest that have textual variants among their kind of early transmissional texts. Mm-hmm. But to be totally honest with you, Avery, I don't know what your experience is, but getting into the weeds of that, I often find less effective as just going into the Quran and talking about how the Quran addresses the Torah and Injil, the Gospel and the Torah, and how the author of the Quran.
Exactly. Did you hear that? So Avery's asking, what about, Muslims, they want to compare the textual reliability of the Bible and the Quran. They'll say, the Bible has all these textual variants, but the Quran's been perfectly preserved and so on. So he points out that, hey, when news of the Birmingham manuscripts and stuff came out, and I started looking into some of the textual variants and so on. So you can go that route. He's saying, I find it more helpful to draw attention to what the Quran says about the Torah and the gospel.
I get the impression that this guy's kind of smart, you know?
Yeah, here's the thing. It's the reason I've emphasized the Islamic dilemma material so much over the years was when I was talking to Nabil for years, I focused on the textual criticism side, right? Like, hey, here's how textual criticism works. We have a ton of manuscripts. If someone changes something at some point, then that doesn't change it in other areas. So you can actually line up the manuscripts and you can see where something changed. You can spot the variants. You know which variants are not, to be fair, you don't know in every case, whether the, which reading is correct. But the vast majority, you can spot them. You can spot, you have a good idea of what's the correct reading. And what you never have the kind of textual changes that you need for Islam to be true. You have it's things like spelling differences and so on. So, but it takes a lot of time to go through that with a Muslim. It takes a long time to establish the textual reliability of the New Testament. Whereas, I didn't find out till later, it's very, very easy to say, wait, you're saying the Bible's been corrupted? Oh, look how you're just contradicting your God and your prophet right here. That's incredibly easy. And instead of like reading books on on textual criticism and so on, you learn a couple Quran verses. It's way easier and more powerful. Because think, you can explain textual criticism to a Muslim. Guess what? His objection was never based on textual criticism. His objection to the reliability of the Bible has never been, he didn't go out and study textual criticism and conclude that the Bible's been corrupted. He has to assume that the Bible's been corrupted because he found out that the Quran contradicts the Bible. And therefore, and he knows that the Quran affirms the inspiration of the Torah and the gospel. So if they don't line up with the Quran now, must have been corrupted. That's his argument. That's his real reasoning. It has nothing to do with textual criticism. In other words, when you're going to textual criticism, it's helpful. You want to show that the Bible's been well preserved and so on. But it's not the real source of his argument. So once you show from the Quran that the Torah and the gospel are the inspired, preserved, authoritative word of God, now you're getting to the core issue for him, which is he trusts what the Quran says, and anything that disagrees with it must have been corrupted. Well, what if the Quran, the book he trusts in, says these books haven't been corrupted? Then he's the one with the problem, not you. He's the one who's got to figure this out, and he's got something to defend. So good. So anyway, the point is, I found out after years of discussions with Nabil, I found out about all this stuff, and I was like, I wish I had known that. It would have been so much easier talking to Nabil all these years if I had known that stuff. And that's why I try to tell other people, guys, really, really good idea for Christians to know this stuff. Should be normal. Should be a basic, fundamental part of Christian apologetics.
Does not seem to have any semblance or kind of idea that there is a kind of level of corruption that's going on in the text. In fact, in Surah 5, verse 46 and 47, the Quran lays out a chain of custody. That God sent down the gospel to Jesus, confirming the Torah, which continued in the guidance and light that it possessed. And it says that the people of the gospel, in other words, Avery, you and I, Christians, must judge by what God has revealed to us in the gospel. And if we don't do that, guess what? We're the defiantly disobedient.
We're the rebellious.
I talk to Muslims. And so when I talk to Muslims, I simply say, hey, I don't want to be the defiantly disobedient before God. The problem is, though, if I look at the Quran and I obey what it's telling me to do there, and I judge the Quran by the gospel, I find the Quran false. So if the Quran is true, it's false because it is not in conjunction, in continuity, or in agreement with anything in the gospel. And so I think the Quran really has a problem because I don't think the author of the Quran had ever read any of the biblical Old Testament or New Testament, but assumes they know what it's talking about, and then on that assumption says some very naive and foolish things.
Isn't it funny? So Muhammad just kind of assumed that the Torah and the gospel are going to agree with him, and they don't. But that sort of tradition 14 centuries. It's like it became part of the community, always assuming you know what you're talking about, even if you have no clue what you're talking about. I will tell you about the text of the Bible. You have no clue what you're talking about at all. Interesting. Be careful who you take as your pattern of contact. You know, I was thinking as this guy was talking, because wasn't he a kid in Pakistan or something like that?
Yeah.
It would be funny. It'd be funny if this white Canadian spoke with a Pakistani accent. Wouldn't that be funny? Wouldn't that be funny if he spoke with a Pakistani accent? Like came out of nowhere.
Funny. Yeah.
It would have been funny. It would have been funny if he like was raised there for like 20 years and had like a heavy Pakistani accent.
It's even more. It's even Wesley Huff was born in Multan, Pakistan, and spent a portion of his childhood in the Middle East. After being diagnosed with a rare neurological condition at the age of 11 that left him paralyzed from the waist down, Wes experienced a miraculous recovery that the doctors themselves said they had no medical explanation for. This experience, along with a great deal of study and soul-searching, in his later teens solidified his interest in the subjects of faith and engaging the beliefs and worldview perspectives of others. He spent his high school years in the Northern Ontario and currently lives in Toronto, Canada, with his wife Melissa, their son Eli, and 2 daughters Everly and Juliet. Interesting.
Interesting fellow. And then after his interesting young background, he becomes a scholar. So,
in fact, let me continue with that. He holds a BA in sociology from York University, a Master's of Theological Studies from Tyndale University, and is currently doing a PhD in New Testament at the University of Toronto's Wycliffe College. For 5 years, Wes worked as a writer, researcher, and speaker for Power to Change students, formerly Campus Crusade in Canada, and has made contributions to the Gospel Coalition Canada, being involved in the collective with talkabouts.com, a curriculum contributor with Trans World Radio, and written multiple entries, including those on Rastafarianism, Canadian Druze Society, and Kathak Konpa Buddhism.
Interesting. He studies Rasta stuff?
Yeah. In the Melton's Encyclopedia of American Religions, 9th edition, Volume 2, Canada, Wesley is currently the Central Canada Director for Apologetics Canada and has participated in numerous public dialogues, debates, and interfaith events on issues of faith, belief, and religion across North America. He enjoys canoeing, archery, and cats, although not all three at the same time. Well, I thought it would be simultaneously. Anyway, that's it.
Did you say cats?
Yeah.
Yeah, cats would be fun with archery.
Yeah. Shooting at cats.
Moving targets are more fun. Anyway, back to it.
Yeah, one, I would say that's my favorite argument is the Islamic dilemma. It's what I say when people always ask me, what should I learn when it comes to Islam and what's the first step? I always tell them, learn what the Quran says about the Bible.
Thank you.
Because you'll be astonished. And there's no escape from
it.
The Quran defends the Bible so that you don't have to against a Muslim. The Quran has already done the work for you. You don't have to do anything. Just remember these few verses.
That's a good little saying there. The Quran defends the Bible, so you don't have to. I'm going to steal that. Christians are worried. How do you defend the Bible? Guess what? The Quran defends the Bible, so you don't have to. Allah defends the Bible, so you don't have to. Muhammad defends the Bible, so you don't have to.
And you'll be just fine. One of the verses that I've been using a lot lately.
Take notes.
And the topic that I run with this is the Quran says that the Bible is the authority over the Quran. And they're like, what? No, absolutely not. The Quran is the criteria.
1094.
It's the new book. It's the last revelation. Well, no. According to the Quran, it tells Muhammad in 1094, if you're in doubt about that which we revealed to you, then go and ask the people who've been reading the scripture before you. Truly, the Lord, the truth has come to you from your Lord. So what is this saying? This is saying, hey, Muhammad, if you're doubting this revelation, if you're doubting the Quran, go check the previous scriptures. It'll clear up your doubts because you'll see that it lines up with that. But if it doesn't line up with it, then Muhammad would know that his revelation is actually not really from God and it's actually a lie. So what's the authority here? The authority is the Bible, even in the Quran. So then what do we do here? What do you do as Muslims? Because you have to admit this. Oh, well, what you have, it's corrupted. It's corrupted. Okay. So is Allah telling Muhammad to go rely on corrupted scripture to clear up his doubts about the Quran? That makes no sense. Help me understand that. So
and we have We have copies from.
Yeah, guys. So Avery there, God Logic, was talking about Surah 10, verse 94. Now, you don't always see this in the translation because it just says, if you are having doubts about what we have revealed to you. So some people read that and saying, oh, is that talking about a random Muslims having doubts or something like that? No. In Arabic, it's speaking directly to Muhammad. It's singular, and that's speaking to Muhammad. And so Allah is telling Muhammad what to do about his doubts about whether his revelations are actually coming from God. Keep in mind, Muhammad was a guy who originally thought that he was demon-possessed. Sometimes your first impression is the correct one, I would say. But Allah tells Muhammad how to deal with his doubts if he doubts whether he's a real prophet.
What doubts, man?
And he says, that's why it's funny when when Muhammad Hijab, what doubt have you doubting you were never a Muslim? Stuff like that. Well, great. Muhammad had doubts. And if we sit there, if we were to say, hey, I think Muhammad's demon-possessed, oh, what an evil conclusion. Okay, Muhammad thought that. Muhammad himself thought that. That was his impression. He had to be talked out of that by his wife and her cousin. But Surah 10, verse 94 tells Muhammad how to assuage his doubts about whether his revelations are from God. And Allah tells him, if you are in doubt as to what we have revealed to you, ask those who are reading the book before you. Talking about the people of the book, Jews and Christians. So Muhammad, if you want to know whether your revelations are actually from God, go to the people of the book. Make sure your revelations line up with theirs. And Avery is pointing out what are Muslims going to say here. If the Quran is affirming that we have reliable scripture from God, well, guess what? Islam fails that test. Or if Muslims are right and the Christian scriptures have been corrupted, then why is Allah telling Muhammad to make sure his revelations line up with corrupt scriptures? It doesn't make any sense. It makes zero sense. So that's what Avery's pointing out. Guys, so I mentioned learning a couple of verses. Avery does a great job because he'll keep using that argument. He'll keep using it over and over and over again. That's one verse. You can do what he just did with one single verse, let alone all the others. So how is it not, in other words, how are there not millions and millions and millions of Christians just learning a couple of Quran verses, which could completely change the world of apologetics and evangelism and everything else? This is not a time to be lazy, ladies and gentlemen. Look around at the world. Not a time to be lazy. Don't be lazy like AP and not make any videos.
From the Arabian Peninsula, of what the Gospel and Torah look like in languages like Syriac and in the Aramaic Peshitta, that would have been there along with the Greek New Testament and Greek translation of the Old Testament. We know exactly what the Torah and the Gospel looked like in Muhammad's day, and Christians and Jews cannot judge by what has been revealed to them if they no longer have it.
If it's gone, if it's missing.
if the Torah and the Gospel are God's words and no one can change God's words, which the Quran also says, an accusation of corruption towards the Torah and the Gospel is one that either makes God into a liar or unable to do what he says he can do, which is preserve his words. And so we know exactly what the Torah and the Gospel look like. There's no issue with that. I just simply think the author of the Quran did not know what the Gospel and the Torah actually were.
He didn't know what was in there. He didn't know.
Okay. So yeah, what is the hypothesis that you guys roll with respect to this question? So they didn't have access to the actual gospel, to the actual New Testament scriptures and stuff, didn't have access to it, but then they referred to it throughout the Quran. So they were just hoping that their audience wasn't informed or something?
Well, so there's actually a substantial Christian and Jewish population in areas like the Northern Arabian Peninsula and what's modern-day Syria, Jordan, Israel. Like, these were all Christian countries. Armenia had been the first official Christian country. And so there's a lot of Christians and Jews. I mean, so the traditional Islamic sources say Muhammad was illiterate. So he wasn't supposed to have been able to read anyways. And the evidence for Arabic translations of the Bible in the 7th century, early 8th century, it's not as strong as it could be. So there's actually a lot of evidence that even if Muhammad could have read, assuming that Muhammad is the author, single author of the Quran, he probably wouldn't have had access to anything that he could have actually read. But I think what's going on is you have these stories, which we find evidence of in the Quran, of Jewish and Christian folk tales, apocryphal stories that are floating around the Arabian Peninsula in the 7th century. My friend Andy Bannister, his doctoral dissertation was on the subject. His book, The Oral Formulaic Construction of the Quran, that's a title that you have to say 5 times fast, is a good book because what it does is it tracks these oral sources that we can tie to folk tales of Jews and Christians in the Arabian Peninsula during this time frame. And so if you're hearing Christians and Jews tell these stories of, the
Gabriel
friends
Said
who were hiding
Reynolds.
in the cave, or of Jesus turning clay birds into real birds, or, there are multiple stories that are folk tales, apocryphal stories that end up in the Quran. I just don't think that the author of the Quran had the ability to differentiate between what were actually the reliable stories found in the Gospels of who the historical Jesus was, and stories that were floating around that were folk tales during his time of who Jesus and Mary and John the Baptist.
Exactly. Very nice.
Also, notice the hilarious parallel there. When we're sitting there listening to Billy Carson, this is a guy who obviously does not know how to distinguish a reliable source from later fabricated nonsense. He couldn't do it. But that's the exact same problem Muhammad had, right? He could not tell the difference. In other words, any story he tells, he hears Christians telling, he thinks it's in their sources. He thinks it's in their sources, and he thinks they're all like equally reliable. They're not. They're not. They had stories that were, some of them were on the level of like bedtime stories for kids, and they end up in the Quran. The Sleepers of the Cave. That was on the level of like a bedtime story. That is an issue. He points out that so there is dispute in the Muslim sources about whether Muhammad was actually illiterate or not. He's pointing out that if Muhammad didn't have supposing Muhammad could read, so if he couldn't read, then obviously he couldn't read no matter what the book was. But if he could read, he would have been able to read Arabic. And so does he have a copy of the Arabic New Testament sitting there? No. And so he probably wouldn't have been able to read it at all, that's why, notice what the verse actually says, 1094. If you are in doubt as to what we have revealed to you, ask those who are reading the book before you. So what's the command? The command is not to go out and read. The command is to go and ask people who read. And so that actually makes sense. If you're talking, hey, Christians and Jews, you've got your books in Hebrew and Syriac and Greek and so on. Let me ask you about them. What's funny about that is Muhammad eventually did run into Christians and Jews, and they made fun of him and told him he doesn't know what he's talking about, and he concluded that they're lying.
Powerful. Powerful.
The author was just straight up bluffing when he said, like, just go read it and it's going to confirm all this.
No, it wasn't bluffing. He thought it was true.
I wouldn't necessarily say he was bluffing. I thought from what I see, I think he believed that. I think the author believed, because he didn't know what was, like what Wes said. He doesn't know what is real in the previous scriptures or what isn't. He's familiar with stories that he's hearing. So with this stuff, and he puts an Islamic twist on it. And so I genuinely believe that he probably believed that, yes, it would, what I'm saying would confirm and line up to some degree of what you guys have, and
it just so happens that it doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah. It just so happens that it does. He doesn't know. He's ignorant of what's in there. But to Wes's point, you literally have hadiths, Cam, that talk about Muhammad being like hearing the stories. Like there's one hadith that says that there were Jews who were reciting the Torah and then explaining it in Arabic to the Muslims. And so they're hearing them give their narrations of what they think the Torah is and having it and explaining it. And then also there's a hadith that talks about Muhammad's closeness with this man named Waraka, who is supposed to be some type of Christian around that time. I think a lot of people allude to him being a Gnostic Christian. But Muhammad is really close to him and learns a lot from him. So these traditions and stories, there's evidence in the Sunni hadith that would show that Muhammad would have a familiarity with these traditions, with these folk tales, as Wes said. It's in their hadith. So, yeah.
Yeah. There is a
Do you
great
think-
book, if people are interested in this topic, by a guy named Gordon Nickel, and it's called The Gentle Answer to the Muslim Accusation of Biblical Falsification. It's less technical than actually the title of the book. Gordon Nickel is a legitimate scholar. He's a fellow Canadian, so I got to give him credit for that. He taught at the university.
Hey, heads up to everyone.
I just put it on my wish list.
You don't need to. That's what I'm giving everyone's a heads up for. So Gordon Nickel, that is the book that Wes Huff just invited everyone to, just recommended. It is 500 pages. So that's a long book. However, it has several major sections, Bible and the Quran. So,
David,
I'm sick. What do you want me to do? So, don't think, well, I'm not going to read 500 pages. You don't have to read 500 pages. You could read the section you're interested in. What I wanted to point out was that this book is $19.95 if you get a hard copy. It is free if you have Kindle Unlimited.
Yes.
And I'm trying to see what the price would be. I have Kindle Unlimited, so I don't know if there's a I don't know what it would cost for someone who doesn't have it.
$10.
Wait, it's only
$9.
it's only 99 cents to join Kindle Unlimited for 3 months. So it would cost you 99 cents, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Without unlimited, it's $9.99.
Point is, the book that he just recommended, filled with lots of good stuff, is pretty easy to get. And
He also has a Quran with Christian commentary.
Yep.
Interesting.
Calgary, I believe, for a number of years. But then he left academia to go be a missionary in India for I think it was 2 decades, a long time. But solid guy, very interesting book, lots of citations and references to things that were going on at the time, to the Hadith, to the Quran, and to the Tafsir. So that's a good one if people are interested in kind of delving into it.
Avery, you got any other questions? Otherwise, I was going to kind of shift and talk about the Trinity a little bit.
Yeah, well, not necessarily a question, but you sparked a topic that I would love to do, Wes, and which is what exactly was around when it comes to the Bible in the 7th century that the Jews and Christians had access to. I think that, giving people a perspective of what actually was there would kind of, I don't know, give a good frame of what we're working with here. I would love to tackle that someday. I would love to.
Well, the Codex Sinaiticus was available.
Hey, he was
written in
making
the-
fun.
Listen, we got to hurry up because I have to go to my chiropractor and get my Sinaiticus realigned after this.
These guys are very rude, making fun of people like this.
Rude. Very rude.
Very rude stuff. All right, guys. So that was part of a long live stream on Cameron's channel. You can check out. I have a link to this clip on Cameron's channel, but if you want to watch the full live stream with Cameron, GodLogic, and Wes Huff, you can go to Cameron's channel. We're gonna watch one more. It's a bit longer, but it's Wes Huff actually. I don't know if I can continue. My voice is shot.
Weakling.
I knew it was shot beforehand, but I figured it would last with cough drops. They did not work.
Making excuses. You weakling.
All right, AP, you're going to have to answer all these super chats, and then we'll listen to Wes Huff a bit more.
Powerful.
Please do a weekly
Hey,
show.
of course, Mom. Please do a weekly show with regular and special guests. Okay, we shall. David will start doing that this week.
I have a special guest right now. His name is AP.
That's true. Please respond to reasonable, skeptical, rational, universal, secular, liberal, humanist, skeptic channel disparaging our sky daddy. Just kidding.
And so we shall.
Yes. Muslims, Momu says, Muslim sounds like a mouse limb, so is Allah the head of the mouse, and the mouse is the mosque is the body of the mouse. I'm just asking questions. This is a good question. And I would say that your answer will lie in your dreams. All right.
And Allahu Akbar means Allah's a mouse.
Powerful.
Because Akbar is
Allah
mouse
the
in
Akbar.
Hebrew. There you go.
Moroni Holmes says, in the Quran, the Christian God looks like the nativity scene. And the Muslim God looks like a young two right-handed stone image. What are your thoughts, David? Give your 5-minute answer.
I cannot give anything longer than a 20-second answer. But I'll have to save my voice for that.
Powerful. That's a good point.
AP wearing a cross? Someone said he is.
Oh yeah, I have been wearing this because my wife gave it to me.
Show your cross, weakling!
You
see?
Powerful.
AP wears that to protect himself from vampires.
Yeah.
All right, here you go.
Meredith Grotti says, have you seen Sarah Adams on Sean Ryan's show? She claims the 10-7 attack was a rehearsal for an attack on U.S. soil.
What? So Hamas is planning an attack on U.S. soil. That's not going to go over well.
That 1 to 1.5 thousand combination of Hamas, ISIS, and others are already here for multicity coordinated attack. Thoughts? I don't know. I have that just sounds like a lot of weird speculation. I don't know who Sarah Adams is. I don't know who Sarah Adam is. I don't know who what Sean Ryan is. I don't know anything about this. This just sounds like a lot of speculation for no reason.
Yeah, Meredith, you do have people who want to carry out terrorist attacks. That is not connected to Hamas, what Hamas did in Israel. Hamas has one goal, that is to keep attacking Israel until you ultimately get victory. They do not care too much about the United States.
Yeah.
Until
their blood flows. This is what Hamas does. This is what the Palestinian organization have been doing. They stand up and say, "We will kill Israel," and then they get crushed and they lose some of their limbs. Then they get up again and say, "We will kill Israel," and they get crushed and lose more of their limbs. And they get up and say, "We will kill Israel," and lose even more. Eventually, they will be completely gone. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Elon Musk is going hardcore anti-Islam. Amazing. It will be amazing if he keeps exposing this stuff. You just have to wonder if someone's going to be like, "No, you've got it all wrong, Elon. Islam is peace," and he listens to some idiot. Hopefully, he keeps seeing the problems. That would be awesome.
That's true.
Stop doing that. It's screwing up the volume and it's blasting.
Sorry, my wife just got me this new toy.
Okay, well, that's great. But every time you play it, then all of a sudden your volume shoots up and deafens me. Your mic is adjusting based on the low sound. And then when you talk, it sounds like you're shouting through a megaphone in my ear.
Apostate of Allah says, is it too soon to remind you about my channel?
Yes.
It's never too soon.
There you go.
Sirkurnan says, Gnosticism and early Christianity, Dr. Heiser on YouTube. Dr. Heiser.
Oh, so so I think this is a response to the question earlier, where to go about refuting Gnosticism. So I think that's a recommendation there.
There you go. Good recommendation.
There you go.
Probably. Annabelle said he was a son of missionaries. When Pakistan became unsafe, they went to Jordan. I blame you for sending me down the rabbit hole on this. This is nice. Annabelle did her research.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So now we know.
Nice. Marianne Renter says, all Muhammad had to do was test the spirit by reading the gospel as instructed to us by God, and a whole new false religion wouldn't have been born. This is actually
it would have been nice. That would have been nice if Muhammad said, so I can test my revelations by checking with the Jews and Christians. Hey, Jews and Christians, does this line up with what you have? No.
Are you
well, I guess my revelation's not from God then. Done.
Marianne Renta looks like a professional YouTube channel or something. Looks like a very professional profile picture. I wonder if this is somebody important. And we shall be humbled.
Why wouldn't you take 5 seconds to look it up and see?
Why would I look it up? I'm just asking questions. Continue.
Here we go.
I'm just going to do something very random and look it up. Josh Villa Gomez said 2025 is the apologetic revival. Powerful.
That's true. That's true. Here you go.
Hey, this is funny. This was completely random, and I just did it just for fun. And I just googled Marianne Renta, who had just made a super chat. It says singer, 50,000 followers on Instagram. This is funny. I was just kidding. Daniel HDZ says, does the Quran and Hadith corner Muslims into accepting child marriage as moral, or is there a good argument as to why it's wrong Islamically?
There's no good argument as to why it's wrong Islamically. Muhammad married a child. He married Aisha when she was 6, had consummated the marriage when she was 9, and he is the one declared by Allah, Surah 33, verse 21, to be the pattern of conduct for Muslims. So arguing that Muhammad was just wrong and child marriage is wrong, pretty difficult. But the problem is amplified by Surah 65, verse 4 of the Quran, which talks about marrying, having sex with, and divorcing prepubescent girls. And so you have to you have to somehow get around the Quran and Muhammad. There are Muslims who will do it, but you can't say they have a strong case for that.
Nobody will do it. Yeah. Anyway, next super chat. Because Jesus says, how do you respond to it says gospel singular, not gospels, meaning the Injil is not the New Testament? It's actually quite simple. Gospel at the time of the Holy Prophet Muhammad.
You got to say Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The gospel referred to was commonly used to refer to either the message of the gospel, so the message of Jesus, or to the fourfold gospel, so the 4 books of the gospel together, or to refer to the New Testament. And it was also a very easy way to refer to the Christian scripture, which would be in that case the New Testament, as the Injil or the gospel. So it is very likely to be used when referring as an external, as an outsider to their Injil. It would be very common to refer to their book or to the New Testament.
So, because Jesus, you basically give the Muslim all the options. From the 2nd century on, the 4 Gospels were treated as a unit called the fourfold gospel, as AP pointed out. So that's a unit, the fourfold gospel, singular. Or, you just pointed out, meaning the Injil is not the New Testament because it's singular. New Testament is singular. All right? Why? Because you're talking to a unit. You're talking about a unit. So, that's another option. But you can even go further. You can say, okay, just pick a gospel then. There's no gospel anywhere on the planet, not even the gospel of Barnabas or later forgeries, that lines up with Islam. That's the point. There's nowhere to go. And so at the end, the Muslim will say, see, you don't have this. Okay, but the Quran says we have it and that we have to judge by it. That's what I mean. There's no way out of this. There's 0 ways out of this. And we just have to make sure they know it.
Powerful. Solomon Lund said Mike Winger trying to do gang signs.
it's the Spock thing, the Vulcan thing.
Powerful. Kerry Patterson, guys, what's your strongest argument against Yahweh equals Allah? David, what's your strongest argument?
Well, you could talk about things like Yahweh loving unbelievers, and Allah says he has no love for unbelievers. An easy one to point out is, well, one, there's a plurality within the nature of Yahweh, even in the Old Testament, which is later clarified in the New Testament. So that's a problem for Islam. But a very simple one is just, in the Bible, God is your heavenly Father, and Allah says, don't ever say anything like that. And so just different, those are some of the main ways.
Yeah, I made a video about this. I made 2 videos about this, actually. One is more focused on how Yahweh and Allah are different people. how Yahweh and Allah are different gods, as described in both of the religions, or both of the scriptures. I think I called it Allah and Yahweh, are they the same God, or something like that. And then I made another video which was how Allah got his name wrong, where I went into how Islam is completely clueless of the Yahweh name. But several points to be made are that the two gods are so the one God, Yahweh, and then the fake God, Allah, in the Quran, have very different approaches to things, very different reactions to things, very different ways of communicating with people, very different amounts of knowledge. The Allah of the Quran seems to be completely ignorant of much of what the God of the Bible has told humans, and the God of the Quran, Allah, also is ignorant of the name Yahweh itself. It never ever appears, which is why if you go up to Muslims nowadays and ask them what Allah's name is, they will tell you it's Allah. And aside from that, he has 99 names to describe his attributes. But if you say, isn't your God's name Yahweh? Shouldn't it be Yahweh because that's his eternal name? They will say no. Islam doesn't recognize that because Islam is ignorant of the Bible, and so on. So it's a very, there is so much to unpack there. I made 2 videos about that. I would just recommend watching those.
And
if I may say so.
Black Angel shared the link in the description.
Powerful.
There you go.
Dimanosov, Muhammad was choked by aliens. True.
More believable than that it was by the angel Gabriel. I mean, think about it. Muhammad's chilling in a cave and something comes up. Recite. What are you talking about? Roughing him up. Hey, check out the channel.
Ripped Van Ademir says, Wes Buff may be strong, but is he as strong as me? I challenge him to an arm wrestling competition to find out.
Yep. Wes won't do it. He knows what's up.
He's terrified. Tyler Borg. David, can you read this comment quickly?
No, I'm not doing that because it'll still ruin my voice. I knew my voice would, because that's how it's been going. My voice will last like a good 5 or 10 minutes or something. Then it starts breaking. It gets worse. But I was thinking, but we're going to be watching video, so I'll kind of go back and forth. But it didn't work.
Hopefully, reading this comment clears David's throat. Well, I ruined it, so there you go.
You ruined it. For a few seconds of audible peace.
You see?
Some falafel sandwich.
Do you think it's hopeless for women to speak with Muslim men about Islam? I spoke with a Muslim man about the Quran and Torah until he crossed the line. Going forward, I think I should just immediately walk away. What did you talk about? And how did it cross the line? How did he cross the line? What happened? I'm really curious now. Was it like, did you have a conversation and it was like, I wanna rape you, I wanna marry you, or something like that? I don't know what happened. But generally not very much recommended, especially not in real life, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one thing if you're arguing online or something like this. That's one thing. Arguing in person or something like that. Now, there are benefits to it that in Islam, women are intellectually deficient. So if you school a Muslim, it will really bother the Muslim. Why did this half-brained whatever just defeat me? But usually, if you're talking in person, it's better for women to talk to Muslim women. That is better. Also because most Muslim women, again, we're not talking about online, but in person, are not going to sit there talking to someone like me. So women need to be talking to the women because they're not going to talk to me. They're not going to talk to AP. Here you go.
I had to do it to him, says David was prophesied to get a sore throat in the Sinai Bible. Edit, it's actually in the Gospel of Barnabas.
It was. It's good to clarify that. There you go.
Easy peasy. Sarah Adams worked for CIA, if I'm not mistaken. Intelligence officer called Superbad worked on the Benghazi scandal. Has had intelligence that Afghanistan used as training ground for terrorists and get shipped out to countries with open borders. Interesting. Okay.
Oh, now if you say Afghanistan, that people are training in Afghanistan and then going, yeah. That's believable. No, guys, you do have organized terrorist plots. The only thing we were pointing out was October 7th was not a trial run for an attack on the U.S. That is what Hamas is focused on. They're focused on Israel.
See, this is maybe this was a legitimate point that this person brought up, and you were just dismissing it as something ridiculous, David.
No, I answered entirely correctly. There you go.
Ge Song Yon says, David, love your style and your apologetics content.
Everyone loves my style. It's not just the content, ladies and gentlemen. It's the content combined with the style. But go ahead.
The content style. And you first heard about you through Nabil Qureshi when I met him at my church conference 10 years back. Even got his book with his signature. That's very nice.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's very nice. Because Jesus, David, honey and ginger and hot water, half yellow lemon plus pinches of pink Himalayan salt. I thought this was going David, honey, but yeah.
David, honey. Wait a minute. It's because Jesus, my wife's channel. Yeah, I'll be trying some stuff afterwards. Unfortunately, all I have here is iced coffee, which seems to be making it worse.
Powerful.
So I'll fix
you
that
shouldn't
later.
be drinking anything milky if that has milk in it.
It has a lot of milk in it.
That's a very dumb idea. PBUM, why did the church fathers use philosophy in their apologetics? Was the Aristotle influence in Antioch school and Plato in Alexandria school? Any idea?
Philosophy involves things like logic. In fact, Aristotle, he didn't invent logic. He invented it as a field of like studying arguments and so on. But all the idea in Christianity is all truth is ultimately God's truth.
Powerful.
Right? So you can have an atheist scientist go and find something out. If he has found out something that is true, you should not be, oh no, this guy disagrees with me or something like that. Now, you can have problems, like you did have people who treated Aristotle like an authority, even when he was wrong. And then that will lead to problems down the road when you start finding out he's wrong, but everyone believes what Aristotle said and so on. So things like that. But so it's the idea is if a philosopher says something that is true, you should not have a problem with that. You should think that's actually good. And then if you're talking about something like logic, which is like kind of foundational, epistemology, logic, epistemology, metaphysics, and so on, that's all relevant. It's like providing the language for which to discuss certain things.
Tezbot, is there ever an argument against Islam can be forced for good if not followed literally? Is there ever an argument that Islam can be forced for good if not followed literally?
Islam's not going to be a force for good.
I mean, why
you can have Muslims who are a force for good. You can have Muslims who do good things and so on. It's not an argument, right? As far as Islam is an ideology. The word Islam means submission. It tells you to submit to Allah. How do you submit to Allah? By mindlessly agreeing with everything Muhammad said. Muhammad called for the violent subjugation of the world. Muhammad said child marriage is fine. Muhammad said all sorts of weird, messed up, creepy stuff. So you can have Muslims who are good and do good things. As far as Islam being a force for good, you're always going to have people within it who say, wait a minute, even though this guy's a nice guy and my mom is a nice woman and so on, Allah tells me I have to submit. How? By doing what Muhammad says. That inevitably leads to problems.
That's what they do.
Here you go.
Daj Mitch says Sean Ryan is ex-SEAL/CIA with Top Podcast and is brand new Christian. He has a realistic view of Islam simply from his life experience. Check him out. Yeah, I googled him earlier when it was brought up, and it seems that he has a very popular podcast. Maybe you should check it out.
Maybe we will. And Ed G here.
The jinn of Allah is stuck in David Wood's throat.
Yeah. I said we would I said we would watch some of Wes Huff as he actually talks about a lot of things. He talks about the formation of the New Testament, its preservation and so on. Then he talks about the Quran and so on. Goes into various topics. I don't want to be a liar, so we'll just watch a couple of minutes of that. We'll just watch a couple of minutes and then we'll be out so that I do not completely destroy my voice.
Just leave it to next time.
It ends up being. Should we? I think
you don't have to be. You don't have to be a hero. Just leave it to next time. We have an excuse.
Okay, I'll tell you what. We'll just watch the first minute or two.
No,
and because I've got the link in the description, and right after we're done, anyone who was like, "No, but I wanted to see it," can just click on the link and go watch the rest. We'll just watch a minute to see if you're interested. I would recommend it. He's sharing valuable information. But yes, I agree with AP. We will save this for a different time because it is interesting
Nobody
stuff.
is going to condemn you if you just say, let's not watch it.
I'm saying we're going to watch a minute or two because we're about to cut off the show. And if we cut it off, then people can actually just, I'm still sitting here and go ahead and watch it.
Just keep on yelling and then wonder why you got worse.
My voice would be perfect if you didn't make me yell all the time with all your stupid commentary.
Oh.
All right, so here's what we were going to go through, but we will not. But I'll just let you see how it starts. And it starts with him just staring around awkwardly.
Hi, so my name's Wesley. I'm going to be doing a presentation.
Your name's what? Start that over again.
Hi, so my name's Wesley. I'm going to be doing a presentation I'm calling 2 Books.
Don't get locked up and say your name's Wesley. Wes, like Wes Craven. Wes Craven, Wes. I'm Wes. None of this Wesley stuff.
Looking at the New Testament and the Quran. And the reason I'm doing this presentation is because I do Christian apologetics as a career. I'm the Central Canadian Director for an organization called Apologetics Canada, which is a Christian apologetics organization. I'm also a PhD candidate at the University of Toronto in the area of what's called New Testament and Christian origins. And basically what I do is I study the transmission of the early New Testament text and documents from antiquity and the early Middle Ages. And so within that area of study, I've done some comparative analysis work on Christian documents versus other ancient religious documents. Now that includes both Roman, but I've also done some extensive work on the Quran, the Quranic documents.
1 second. Justin here says, what about Wesley Snipes? Nicholas says, D. Wood, do you like Wesley Snipes? A different Nicholas, there are multiple Nicholases here, said Wesley Snipes gives David the stink eye.
No, what does it
Wesley Snipes is a different category. Why? If he just went by Wes, it would be Wes Snipes. The two S's would meld together.
That would look ridiculous.
Besides that, he has a black belt in martial arts and is super cool and black, so he can get away with it. This guy can't.
And sort of the transmission of the history coming from the 7th century and onwards. And so what I'm going to be talking about in this particular presentation is highlighting what we mean when we talk about the differences between these 2 books. And so if I share my screen, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this presentation on Mac, and I'm going to look at, in particular, 4 key questions. And those key questions are, what do we see when we look at the transmission of the biblical New Testament? What do we see when we look at the transmission of the Islamic Quran? How do these 2 compare and what does it mean? And then finally, how does this impact the way that Christians talk with Muslims and Muslims talk with Christians? Well, in order to start...
All right, got that, guys? Just wanted to show you in case you wanted to watch that, but we will. This is a really good presentation, and so I want to go through at least the first part there, because there are too few Muslims out there who understand how the New Testament was actually transmitted and how reliable it is. And so it's good to know, and it's good to use that as a supplement to the Islamic dilemma. So you share what the Quran says about the Bible. And then you actually defend the historical preservation of the New Testament. And then you show that the Quran has variants and so on, and that everything their Dawah clowns have told them is a lie. Understand? So anyway, the link to this video is in the description box if you want to watch it now, because we are closing down early because my voice is destroyed. And
Weakling, you're running?
And there's just too much powerful evidence coming in from atheists. I can't take it anymore after we've heard about all these powerful atheist channels. So anyway, if you want to check that out, you can. But once my voice is back up and running, we will go through this. So you don't have to. You don't have to check it out now. But if you're sitting here saying, "Man, I thought we were going till midnight or something like that," no, we're gonna shut it down now. All right, take these last couple super chats, AP. Are you ready to read?
Nathan Moon says, if this goes on too long, David is going to start neighing. Speedy recovery, bud.
It just sucks. It's everyone around me right now has a cold. Everyone's got it. There you go.
Some falafel sandwich says he followed me.
Oh, yeah, that's different. Yeah, that's different. Lots of times these guys they have ulterior motives.
We started talking about God. We agreed to talk more only if his wife was present. Then he texted me a few times about a meeting and eventually sent a sex text about my body.
Yep, that's the concern. You are dealing with people who have not the purest of intentions. And just so you know, it is a huge status symbol in Islam if you get a woman to convert and marry her, especially as like your second or third wife or something like this. You're like legend status in the Ummah. And so it's a big deal to them. And so that's what we're talking about. You're gonna, just because it sounds like you caught on pretty quickly, but I have seen women in the past. I have a heart for reaching Muslims with the gospel, and they start going out and talking to guys, and they don't realize these guys do not have the purest of intentions. And yeah,
you know it well. I know it well. I have received so many emails, so many communications over the years since I started doing this from women who said, "Hey, I have a story. I met a Muslim guy and everything was cool. And I ended up marrying him, ended up converting and so on. And then things went really, really bad. And now I don't know what to do." So many instances like that. It's just, and every single time I just feel really, really bad about it. But the thing is, before knowing what actually happened, I said it wouldn't be a good idea in person, especially for a woman. You are dealing with a culture where women are not quite seen the same way, and where men are treated and where men are taught and given this really messed up, repressive, weirdly sexual, rapey attitude about women, combined with very rapey attitudes in their religious beliefs and faith. Insofar, it would just be not always a very fantastic idea to get into one-on-one personal discussions. If it looks like that person wants to have lengthy discussions and wants to get more private, just send them a goat and say, "Here, you can deal with this one."
Mm-hmm. And if there was a situation, because you said, agreed to talk more only if his wife was present. One, you should obviously be done with this guy. But if you have a situation where some guy wants to talk to you and you want to have that discussion, yes, insist that his wife is present. Keep in mind, that does not rule out his intentions towards you. he can have 4 wives, right? So you are still a potential bride. And so I would say bring a guy with you, some guy from church or something like that. Preferably an intimidating one. And that way.
That makes sense. AP instantly, CO said AP instantly thinks about rape when
that was posted before you started talking. It's rapey, see.
But I was right, see? Alhamdulillah.
Here you go.
Patriotic Z says AP and Dawood, have you guys thought about putting stuff on Rumble like the old Acts skits or other spicy videos that he hates? I have thought about it very much. I also met a manager of Rumble privately, and he offered me to just say, "Hey, move over, let's do things and stuff." I just didn't really get to do it, but I'm still thinking about it. Yeah.
I have a Rumble. I have a Rumble channel, Patriotic Z. So
I have a Rumble.
I am on Rumble. I don't like the algorithm as much. It doesn't work as well for spreading content. But it apparently works pretty well for things like live streams and podcasts and stuff like that. So, all right, last comment here.
Giovanni Garcia, go through it, cowards, you see. Yep, I agree.
You see, Allah cursed your voice, and now your voice is breaking. You see, you've been humiliated by the great God Allah. I probably did this to myself. I always talking like this when we're making fun of Dawah. Probably stripped out my voice.
Well. So I was supposed to watch another video, but David thought, oh no, I can't go on, my voice bad.
AP.
So we have to cut short.
AP said, no, even though David is willing to push through and watch the video, I will not do it. Because I don't want to hear this powerful stuff about the New Testament. All right, we'll go up. One last comment here from Key.
Key Caboose says, how can some people say God doesn't exist? If God didn't exist, then what are all these churches for? Very good point.
We now rest our airtight case.
Very powerful.
All right, guys. Sorry we had to shut it down before we got through what we're going for. But hopefully my voice will get better. I'll drink a bunch of tea and stuff, have some chicken soup or something, and hopefully we'll get through it later this week. All right. Catch y'all next time. I'm going to go drink a big cup of tea.
Make sure to wish and pray that David never recovers from this. And alhamdulillah.
Yeah, we got Ali Dawah. Oh, it was just 4 years ago, that we prayed for David and AP to get diseases. And here, David had got a cold, isn't it? You see?
I think I'm going to have a debate tomorrow with that stupid... Why are you saying stupid, man? Don't disrespect the guy. With that college campus guy who had a discussion with Mossab Hassan Youssef and the former Israeli hostage, that kid, pro-Hamas guy. I think I'm going to have a debate with that guy tomorrow. I'm not really sure.
You think? You don't even know? You don't know if you're debating tomorrow.
No, I am debating tomorrow, but I'm not sure if it's going to be live or if it's going to be recorded and published later or something. It's going to be on some huge channel. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
But we don't know if we're going to see it tomorrow or if they'll record it and then we'll see it later.
Yeah, I don't even remember what the channel is called. But it's a big channel.
Super huge channel. And you have no idea what's going on. It didn't occur to you to ask, is this going to be live?
The biggest channel I've seen. Rattlesnake TV. 700,000.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah. I'm supposed to be on there to have a debate tomorrow.
Hang on. I just want to see if they have anything listed there.
Oh yeah, it's listed. It's live listed for tomorrow. That's funny. I wasn't even aware until now.
That'll be live.
Yes.
Rattlesnake TV. Guessing these guys are from Texas. Just checking it out. Oh yeah, live debate: apostate prophet versus Aidan Doyle.
Yes.
I was making fun of the name Wesley a little while ago. Aidan Doyle. Do not go to prison. Not with that name, and definitely not with that mustache.
Aidan Doyle is a respectable person who I'm sure has respectable opinions and will be taken seriously as a respectable opponent.
Wait a minute. Was this that guy? And it was like, it was Masab and like a room full of people out in California, and he was just sitting there.
Yes.
Oh, This is going to be fun. All right, guys, we know what we're doing tomorrow. Everyone mark it. Rattlesnake TV, 2:00 p.m. I'll be asleep.
Yep.
All right, I'll have to check it out afterwards. Depending on how my voice does, we can go live at some point after that, either tomorrow night or the next day to go through it. Well, that should be fun and interesting. All right, everyone. And here, second Shaitan. Nice to see you again. D1 and AP. What did I miss? You missed everything. You missed everything. Every good thing already happened. And we just got the cool news that AP is going to be debating Aidan Doyle. Maybe he'll speak more than he did when he was getting completely crushed and humiliated on stage. But I don't know how things are going to go any better for him tomorrow versus AP, the mighty AP.
Make me laugh.
Why are you wearing your Bring Them Home Now shirt when you should be rocking that tomorrow?
I'll just wear it tomorrow as well.
Have to have your little dog tag thing. Have something in the background, your little Hamas bumper sticker or whatever, and
this.
Just make sure you humiliate everyone. All right, everyone. Okay. Everyone, be sure to check that out tomorrow if you can.
Okay.
And especially for all the Europeans out there who always complain that stuff is too late for them. This is at 2. This is perfect for European time. All right, everyone.
Okay, I'll be watching it.
Catch you all then.
See you.